Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on this channel. Today we will be covering a quick guide on fire and maneuver and how you can best play the game. The first thing we will be covering is the best beginner nation to play as and why. You should start by playing as France. The French have decent infantry and cheap units. I would also recommend trying out the Russians, as they also have pretty cheap units and can overwhelm the enemy overall, but we will get to that part soon. The nation I definitely do not recommend is Great Britain. They have very professional but very expensive units, and there is a big chance you get overwhelmed by your enemy. The second thing we will be covering is a brief strategy for every nation. As France, you should use your infantry and overall versatility against the enemy. While you may not have an obvious advantage, that also means your strategies and tactics are not limited as some other nations. As Germany, you should use your efficient line infantry and powerful artillery to overwhelm the enemy with quick maneuvers and firepowers. While you do have these very useful advantages, you must use them to good effect, or else your effort will be lost in enemy fire. As Britain, you should use your elite range drill line infantry to deal significant damage to the enemy in line combat. However, you must be careful with your expensive units, as taking any losses are major deterrent. As Russia, you should use your cheaper, albeit disorganized, forces to overwhelm the enemy with numbers or to sustain a battle of attrition. You should not sit back and do nothing because your units will get crushed by the experienced units of the enemy. As the Ottoman Empire, you should be both aggressive and cautious, as your forces are numerous but easily broken. Use your more cheap and unprofessional units to move forward and deal the most damage, and then move your more professional units up and deal the final blow. For more Ottoman guides, you should check out literally a Turkey, links down below. As Austria, you should use your skirmish units and indirect artillery fire to harass the enemy, as your main force deals with the majority of the damage. You can be passive with Austria, you just need to use your artillery very well. Deal damage from far. While you can play passively as Austria, they also focus on offense and harassment. Thus, personally, I'd suggest talking about offense or harassment with the skirmish perk. As Italy, you should use your different specialized units for multiple different tactics against the enemy, like fire and advance. You basically move up your lights, for example, shoot a time or two, and then get your line infantry in the front line, and also shoot and return, and so on and so on and so on. As the USA, you should use your cheap units to overwhelm the enemy with numbers while making sure to have into account your less cohesion. Do not sit back because your units will get wrecked by the enemy. Be aggressive and overwhelm the enemy lines. As the Confederacy, you should use your cheap and efficient units to overwhelm the enemy with a large and mobile force. Outflanking is also planned, as you can bring many relatively good units to the battlefield. Use that advantage and outflank them by using march column and changing a lot of formation. 3 is the best units in the game. There are a lot of bad units in fire and maneuver. The militia, the Russian infantry, and so on and so on. But there is hope, because the British come to the rescue. As stated before, the British have some of the best units in the game. They have well-trained professional units. We will sum up the best units in the game, starting with 6. The Foreign Legion. They have almost everything the Grenadiers of the Imperial Guard have. Though they cannot move and change formation in the same turn, they are able to deal heavy damage to the enemy due to their good melee. 5. Prussian Grenadiers. They are pretty strong in melee, but when it comes to distant combat, they lack good weapons to get into range of the enemy units, as they don't have breech loading and rifling perk at the same time. So, or they cannot shoot 2 times in the same turn, or cannot move and shoot in the same turn. 4. The British Grenadiers. These men are masters in melee. They also have long range and can keep the enemy at bay by preventing them from coming close to their lines, and once the enemy does, they are met with a devastating melee charge that sends the whole line running. 3. The French Voltigeurs of the Guard. They take almost no damage when shot at. They can also get into march column, which let them go very fast. Their range also spreads from right to the left flank, and can shoot 2 tiles far and can move and shoot in the same turn. 2. French Grenadiers of the Guard. One of the best units in melee. When they shoot, they do 3 damage front hit because of their shock. They can also bring breech loading guns that makes them almost unstoppable. 1. The unit you guys have all been waiting for. The Prussian KRUPP GUN. The best unit when it comes to range and artillery. They do have breech loading perks which allows them to do maximum 4 damage per turn from a far distance. In some occasions they can shoot from one side of the map to another. I want to thank you very much for watching. Click this video for gameplay and this video for my latest update, and this my channel to subscribe. Thank you for watching. Links down below. See ya.